Good morning and welcome to Ready Steady Charge. So it's time for another EV road trip. So the plan is for me to go from Calgary, which is where I am here right now, to a place called Bella Bella. So this is a small town on an island on the central coast of British Columbia. It's about 5:30 in the morning and the Kona has been charged to 100%. Our first stop today is Golden, and it will take about 3 hours. So let's get going. All right, we are on our way. I want to tell you a bit more details about this really long road trip. So the goal is to get to Bella Bella from Calgary, and I've set aside 4 days for this trip. The trip could be done in 3 days, but I want to give myself a little more time to, sightsee and do more touristy stuff. So today is day one, and the goal is to get to Vancouver from Calgary by the end of the day. I want to get to Vancouver as early as possible because the next day in the morning, I'm taking the ferry from Vancouver to Nanaimo, which is on Vancouver Island. So the sailing time for the ferry is 8:45 a.m. That means I need to be at the ferry terminal around 6:45 a.m. or 7 a.m., which is pretty early. So that means I need to get to Vancouver today as early as possible so I can go to bed as early as possible so that I can get up the next morning as early as possible. Welcome to Golden. We are already in British Columbia. So the Kona is being charged right now at this Electrify Canada charging station. The charging speed is 55 kilowatts. So I arrived with 39% battery. The consumption is 6.6 kilometers per kilowatt hour, which is quite good. Right now it is summer. The temperature isn't super warm. It hovered around like 10 to 15 degrees Celsius. So 6.6 is really good consumption. Now, the Kona arrived with a battery minimum temperature of only 20 degrees. Has to go to 25 degrees for the charging speed to really go up to 70. But shouldn't take too long to heat up. Once that happens, we'll get to 75 kilowatts and we will have full charging speed. Today on our trip from Calgary to Vancouver, we're going to be using Trans-Canada Highway 1. This is a highway that's used very commonly by a lot of people, including EV drivers. If you're following along and trying to see how long it takes to drive this route, I just want to remind you of something. So this is the Kona Electric. It's a 2020 version, 64 kilowatt hours in battery size. Something I do want to tell you is that this particular vehicle, great as it is, and I really like it, that's why I still kept it, I had it for 4 years, is that it is not the fastest charging EV. So right now it's charging at 56 kilowatts and the vehicle's peak charging speed is 74 or 75. So that means this is actually not a really fast charging EVs. Electric vehicles like the Tesla Model 3, Tesla Model Y, they can go up to 250 kilowatts in peak charging speed. The Ioniq 5 and the ID4 both charge a lot faster than the Kona Electric. So if you happen to have an EV that's different than mine and it charges faster, what it means is that each charging stop will take much less time and your trip is going to take much less time overall. So For reference, this is not the fastest charging EV, but it's still a very decent one. My next charging stop is Salmon Arm, which is 252 kilometers away. I'm going to charge the Kona up to 75%, and that's because up to 75%, the charging speed is quite fast. Once it hits 75%, usually the charging speed becomes quite slow. So in terms of time efficiency and cost efficiency, you should be charging your EV in the state of charge of your battery where the charging speed is the fastest. So I'll charge to 75% and we'll get going. Welcome to Salmon Arm. We are here and we're charging again at a Electrify Canada DC fast charger. The drive here was 254 kilometers. The consumption was quite good. It's 7.2 kilometers per kilowatt hour. It's better than the previous leg of the journey. And we have arrived with 23% battery. Right now we are getting full speed. We have arrived with 26 degrees Celsius as the battery minimum temperature, so we're getting 70 something kilowatts, which is exactly what we want. So why am I going to Bella Bella? It's a very remote and rural and faraway place. Well, it's not just for recreation. I am relocating for work purposes. So I am actually bringing everything I can in this little crossover. Let me show you how I packed everything. It's packed in as tightly as possible. So, passenger seat, suitcase, cover box, shoes. In the back, backpack, some loose items, tire, so these are winter tires. And as you can see, it's all stuffed full in here. This is the level 1 charging cable, the EVSE. It's very similar on this opposite side here. Again, I got cover box, tire. So I have a full set of winter tires. And as you can see, all the spaces inside the rim, these are all filled. So every inch and every little millimeter is used up, even down here. Now the best part is the trunk, of course. This is where I have the most space and where I can stuff the most things. So as you can see, it is very full. I did bring my electric bicycle with me. It's very good that this thing fits vertically inside the car. My water supply in the jug, and then this is my pillow, blanket in a vacuum seal bag, so you can put a vacuum to this plug and suck all the air out, and then it becomes very compact. So as you can see, there is still a little tunnel to the rear view mirror, so I can still see more or less what's going on behind me. Something that's really important when you are packing a small vehicle like this full to the brim is still maintain visibility. So let me show you how I did that. From the rear view mirror, you can see that there is a tunnel through all the items, and I can still see the situation behind me through the rear windshield. And from the side, it's really important that you're able to, of course, see your wing mirror on your right side, and also be able to see enough of your exterior so that you can do a proper shoulder check. So I have lifted up this headrest so that there's a gap where I can see through and do the shoulder check on the right side. Of course, on the left side, there's no problem seeing the wing mirror, but also have enough space so that you can see the left side when you are doing the shoulder check. It's very important to pack everything in the car you need, especially in a small car like this, like the Kona, but also just make sure you maintain visibility as well. My next charging stop is in Merritt at the Electrify Canada again. So you're probably noticing a theme. We're using Electrify Canada a lot. So that is around 200 kilometers from here. If we charge up to around 70–75%, that should be good. I'll just turn off the charging whenever the charging speed drops, which is around 74–75%. So once I get to that percentage, I will get going. So I'll see you in Merritt. Welcome to Merritt. And as I said before, we are now charging at the Electrify Canada charging station right here. We're using station number 1. So I've arrived with 23% battery. The consumption's a little bit higher, 5.7 kilometers per kilowatt hour, but that is because the highway, there's a long stretch of highway which has higher speed limit, 120 kilometers per hour. So I just changed the car into sports mode and didn't worry about efficiency because I knew it definitely had enough juice to get here. So we are charging at Electrify Canada again, and I tried to use this one, station number 3. I tried twice, this one did not work. And then I tried station 1 and it worked, so that's good. We are getting full speed, 70 kilowatts. The battery temperature is pretty good, so that's all good. You may ask me, now, why do you like using Electrify Canada? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Electrify Canada, I find that it generally works pretty well with my Kona. I haven't had too much trouble charging the Kona with EC chargers, so that's reason number 1. Reason number 2 is there's a lot of redundancy. So every EC charging station has 4 charging stalls. Has 2 benefits. One is, just like what happened before, if one didn't work, I don't have to worry about it, don't have to call the customer assistance just yet. I just jump onto another charger, and usually when you go to another one or you go to the next one, they will work for you. And the other benefit is, of course, also, like I said, redundancy. So if someone's charging here, you got 4 charging stations. It's pretty rare that all 4 will be occupied at the same time. And chances are, if they're all occupied, someone's about to be ready to leave. So right across the highway, on the other side of the highway, there is a set of chargers called on-the-run chargers. So these can be activated through the Journey app. And for now, for a limited time, they are actually free. So there's some incentive to go try those. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna charge the Kona up to 50%. We're actually pretty close. And then I'm gonna go across the highway over there and try out those on-the-run chargers. I haven't tried those yet. I wanna see how they work. And I will tell you a couple things about them. Okay, we are here at the on-the-run charger. So here we go, in the flesh. So I'm gonna use my app to start a charging session. Hopefully this all goes smoothly. Okay, plug in your vehicle so the app works. Let's see how this works. So I got this plug. I'll go get it in there. Okay, there it's in. Good. so let's see if this works. Now this charger promises up to 150 kilowatts. My Kona can't take that much. My Kona can only take up to 75, so about half. But we have another ID4 on the other one, on the other second charger. So let's see how we do. You know what I do like about this screen is it's just huge. But I wish some of these numbers are just bigger. So I'm expecting about 70 kilowatts. 69. Okay, that's a nice number. Close enough. So I would say this is doing what it's supposed to do. And of course, total cost is 0 because it's free right now. So this is my first time charging on these journey / on the run DC fast chargers. The process was fairly smooth. Just activate with the app, plug it in, and it worked. At least with the Kona, seems to work well. Let me tell you something special about these chargers. So it could be an advantage or a downfall of these chargers. So how these work is, these chargers are paired with a really big battery. And these are really good in small towns where the grid connection is not a big grid connection. So what it does is it trickle charges this battery pack at, I guess, level 2 AC charging speed. And then once the battery is topped up, the battery can then charge these EVs at DC fast charging speed. Now, the downside of this is if the battery that powers these chargers gets drained, then charging speed goes down dramatically because you are literally getting level 2 charging speed on a DC fast charger. So if there are a lot of people that charge on these chargers ahead of you, then unfortunately the battery's drained and you won't be getting a good speed. So that's as far as I know how these chargers are supposed to work. So I'm going to charge up to about 75% and then we'll go to the next stop. Alright, so we have quite a crowd here. We've got a Mach-E, ID4, there's my Kona, and then last but not least, a Leaf. So I'm basically done charging. I've unplugged. I'm just gonna go to the bathroom and then we're gonna leave and go to Abbotsford. I think the Kona's charged up to 87%. I didn't want to charge it that high, but lots of people wanted to talk, so spend a bit more time here. And this is the key to a free charger, which is it draws a crowd, right? I bet the Electrify America charger across the street is completely empty. I have just left the on-the-run charger, and that's the on-the-run charger in Merritt. I stayed there a little bit longer because there was someone who really wanted to talk to me about EVs. Shout out to the guy who just started driving his ID4. It's a beautiful vehicle, and all the best to him. So the Kona is charged at 88%, and since the charging is free, I got no complaints. Now, as you saw, a free charger does draw a big crowd. If you're charging at a free charger during odd times, like nighttime or really early in the morning, most likely you'll be able to get it all to yourself. However, today is a Sunday, and today is a Sunday of a long weekend. That means everyone will be driving, everyone's out and about. Most of the time, free chargers will be occupied. So if your goal is to get in, charge, and get out quickly, the paid chargers are probably your best bet. Especially if your paid charger is right next to the free charger, like that Electrify Canada one is, most likely it will be completely unoccupied because everyone's going for the free one. Welcome to Abbotsford. We are at the Electrify Canada charging station. So I've been using almost all Electrify Canadas today. It's charging at 75 kilowatts, just like I wanted. All right, so the trip to Abbotsford is 205 kilometers. Took about 2 hours. The consumption was 5.7 kilometers per kilowatt hour, which is still not bad, same as the previous leg. And the battery is at 34% when we arrived. My destination is a hotel in Vancouver. With 34% battery left, we can actually make it there without charging. But I am preparing for tomorrow. So tomorrow I am going to go on the ferry really early in the morning to go to Nanaimo from Vancouver. And I want to charge the Kona up to about 75% battery so that once I get on the island, I have plenty to drive around. So tomorrow I will be driving from Nanaimo all the way north to Port Hardy. There are a couple of charging stations in between, but I just want to make sure that we have plenty. Whew, okay, I am finally here in Vancouver. I've checked into the hotel, and let me tell you a little bit about the last leg of the journey. So between Abbotsford and Vancouver, it's a distance of 65 kilometers. It took me about an hour to get here. The consumption is 8.1 kilometers per kilowatt hour, which is really good, but it's city driving at lower speed, so that is to be expected. Our entire trip today was 74 kilometers. So quite long, but not the longest the Kona has ever driven in a single day. Watch our other road trip videos for some even longer journeys. The overall consumption for the trip was 6.1 kilometers per kilowatt hour. That's pretty good for summertime that's not especially warm. And the driving time in total was 11 hours and 22 minutes. Because I started the trip at 5:45 a.m. in Calgary, I came here to Vancouver at 6:45 local time. The whole trip took around 14 hours. And I think for an EV that's not especially fast at charging, that's pretty good. Tomorrow I am going to go on to Vancouver Island, and I will go to the ferry, land on Nanaimo. That'll be an interesting day. So I'll see you tomorrow.